I'm Amy, sex educator, sex and relationship coach, and co-owner of PurePleasureShop.com.
And I'm April, sex toy maven, VP of Hot Octopus, and I've dedicated my life to the business of sex. We're two people with a passion for educating and inspiring shame-free conversations about sex and relationships. Welcome to the Shameless Sex Revolution.
Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com, and for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code shamelesssex at purepleasureshop.com.
You are listening to a pleasure podcast. For more from our sex podcast collective, visit pleasurepodcasts.com.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome back to the Shameless Sex Podcast. This is a very special one for so many reasons. Number one, we're in a hotel room in New York City, and by the time this episode comes out, we already did this, so this is in the past, but we are doing a live event, a meet and greet tonight at the Museum of Sex, where we get to meet our favorite humans, our listeners, and then tomorrow we'll be in Philadelphia. We're at Hustler. We were, because this is past, present, future, teaching a workshop there. But when you're listening to this, we're not doing those things. But in a little bit, we'll talk about how you can actually still experience us in person, because we will be in all kinds of cities around, not the globe, but the country. Right, Chip?
That's right.
It's also special because one of our mics just broke. And so we have one microphone. Nope, not two girls, one cup. It's two girls, one mic. April's like saying, ew. I still never saw that.
Google it, everyone. I'm telling you, do not. No.
People have described him like, I think I'm good on that one. So this episode is not about two girls, one cup. This recording was all on Zoom, and it was what we're calling a Zoom orgy because April and I weren't even together. You were in Philadelphia. I was in Santa Cruz. And then we had three other people that are part of the company that we're talking about in this episode, or the people that are sharing. And so there's five on the screen. So it's our educational orgy.
Yeah.
So this episode is about a lot of different things, but it's something that is really just fascinating and so important. And April and I learned so much. And I'll just say, after listening to this episode, when you watch anything on TV, on film, on TV, and on porn, your perspective will probably change because you're going to learn what's happening behind the scenes in a really important way with something called intimacy coordinators. I didn't know that was a thing.
I think that we would be great intimacy coordinators, and I didn't know it was a thing, and I'm grateful there is this, I'm just going to call it a thing, in existence, because anybody out there could potentially be an intimacy coordinator. What is that, you may ask? Well, you're about to find out. And what else? They even use it in porn. Yeah. And I didn't realize that if you ever touch genitals on set, you have to have a prosthetic, or you have to...
Even when it looks like you're touching your own genitals on set, it has to be a prosthetic.
And merkins. Yes. So stay tuned because this was really, really cool. Okay, so Amy and I are sharing a mic, and we wanted to open up with something really important because right now we're in New York. You're listening to this. We've already been back to California, but we are doing a tour. So if you're in Portland, Chicago, Seattle, listen up. What are we doing, Amy?
Oh my goodness. We are doing the Unleashed tour, where shamelessness, sexiness, and laughter collide in a hilarious orgy of fun, discovery, and sex edutainment. That's right. I said edutainment purposefully because it's educational and entertaining.
Second time you've said orgy in this intro as well.
This episode is not about orgies.
Damn it.
Okay, so what is this? So this is different than what we're doing here, right? Like, what we're doing at MoSex tonight. Actually, God, what day is it? Is a meet and greet tomorrow. Is an actual sex ed class, but this is bringing all the things into one. It is a live show, an electrifying ensemble of sex educators and sex positive entertainers, and they will bring you an unforgettably titillating live experience.
I love that you said titillating.
Titillating.
You may or may not see tits. And really, people have been asking us for quite some time to do more live events, live things besides just workshops. This is new for us. So you're probably going to laugh your ass off because Amy and I, we get awkward when we're not educating. We get fun. So come and see us June 16th in Portland. That's Daddy's Day, everyone, aka Father's Day. It's going to be a show perhaps to find your daddy. If you are a daddy, who's your daddy? I'm your daddy.
If you love your daddy or you got daddy issues.
You hate your daddy. You don't have a daddy. You're like, where's my daddy? Who's my daddy? Come to see us on June 16th. Then we're in Chicago, June 30th. Chi-Town represent. Hey, my Wisconsin friends, high school friends. I don't really have any, I have some college friends maybe over there. Just come and see me. And if you can't join, tell all your friends to come. You have to buy a ticket, okay? Buy the ticket, take the ride. Go to shamelesssex.com. Also, Seattle, listen up, August 1st, we're coming at you. Shamelesssex.com. And Amy has a special treat for you.
Okay, y'all. So treat number one, if you come to Portland, so all of our shows, it's not just going to be us. Yeah, the audience will be involved if you would like to. It's going to be fun, playful, blah, blah, blah. But Portland, we have Dirty Lola, who is one of my favorite sex educators.
A go-go. She's known for. She's Brooklyn based. She's been on a Netflix show. Yeah. I can never fucking remember the name, but it's awesome.
Yes.
With Reed Mahalko, he was on it too.
Yeah.
She's amazing, and she's our guest. Like our guest. We don't want to say speaker. Our guest.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so April and I might be doing some like sexy live we will be doing some sexy live demos. Who knows? The Slurpee stick shift, how to bury your face in her. I don't know. Tame a brat. Who knows? But Dirty Lola is going to be a part of that, and she's going to show us how it's really done. So you don't want to miss that, daddies and non-daddies. So as April said, seats are filling up, and the first 20 people that sign up get a free bottle of Uber Lube. You sign up. You're not going to know if you're that 20s. You just sign up right away. And when you get there, you have to show up. You get that bottle of Uber Lube. As April said, go to shamelesssex.com now and buy your tickets. And we actually have a sexy teaser video there for you. So if you want to know more about what we're doing, just go watch that on our website.
There's a very strong man in it with really beautiful tattoos and nice white underwear.
I also like how you're in beautiful lingerie, but he like just serves you. You're like, tell him, come here, and he just hands you a glass of champagne and walks away. That's awesome. All right. Anyways, you ready for a sex question, Chip?
I sure am. I did not read it.
All right. It's a surprise. Here's the sex question. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I'm embarrassed to say that I've never had an orgasm. I've had sex with 5 different people, and one of them was a 3-year relationship. I've tried masturbating, and it feels kind of good, but nothing happens. I've tried different positions with partners and feel some really good things, but after a while, I kind of mentally give up, and nothing happens as well. Is there something wrong with me? Or do you have any tips on things I should try? First of all, I just want to say, and I'm passing the mic back over to you because it's 2 girls, 1 mic. Not this exact, but this question is in our book because this is really common that I don't have orgasm. And this isn't just like penetrate. I've never had an orgasm or it's hard to orgasm. We also get the like, I can't orgasm from penetrative sex, but we'll stick with this one. You know, you've had sex with a lot of people or with 5 people. You've had a long-term partner. You have tried masturbating. It gets to the like, maybe the 6, but you don't get to the 10. And I can see why that's frustrating. Well, maybe that's the next person. The next person. If you include yourself, maybe it is 6.
Don't do that.
I mean, do that, masturbate. But so I just want to say you are so normal. This is super common. So I can relate in that between age 16 and 18. I know it sounds like a short window, but I had sex with 5 people and I never had an orgasm either. And guess how I had an orgasm, Chip?
Vibrators.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. I knew that answer already.
Also, she knows that.
I want to say something now. We have to share the mic. So I want to say something because I was never able to ever orgasm with a partner ever. Not even from like oral fingers. No, for much of my life. And vibrators were never really a part of my life until my mid 20s.
You mean until I gave you a vibrator and said you need to use this?
Yes, I have the mic now, Miss Amy. And this isn't about me. What I wanted to say is that masturbating, if it feels good, you said it kind of feels good, kind of. I like this kind of, but then nothing more happens. We talk a lot about this because self-pleasure practices are so important. And that was my self-pleasure practice. Incorporating vibrators is how I learned finally how to have orgasms with partners. And I think different positions, may or may not be helpful. I personally think just tapping in, getting out of your head into your body, more self-pleasuring time frames for yourself. And then slowly your brain will just sort of hopefully eventually make those new neural pathways that link your pleasure if you're with a partner or with yourself, never orgasming that's a bummer. And I'm like super bummed for this person, but it isn't impossible. So be patient with yourself. And also sometimes hormones could be involved.
Yeah, I mean, my guess, you're 28, so my guess is it's less hormones, although unless you're on birth control, that can change your libido, but birth control isn't necessarily known for making it so that you can't orgasm.
We don't know if they're on SSRIs. Yeah. There could be a bunch of, right. So, and this is why the book is helpful, because Amy and I could blah, 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 blah. And if you're not a reader, you could get it on Audible.
Yes. Totally. Okay, so let's move through a couple of these things, right? So you tried masturbating and it feels kind of good and then nothing happens. And then you also said trying different positions, you mentally give up. So my guess is you getting in your head really quickly, or maybe it's not quick, maybe it takes 20 minutes and your brain is saying, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And so and I'll say our, because I know April would agree, top tips is, and this is hard to do, don't make orgasm the goal, right? And when you hear your brain like say the things, I'm not going to come, or I want to come, or I hope I orgasm, move away from that and just focus on the sensations. You know, if it's your hand on your clitoris, just focusing on what your clitoris feels or your body feels, like focusing on that part. Or if you're having sex with a partner, focusing on the sensations. And, you know, if there's something that feels pleasurable, keep doing that. Or if your partner is doing something that feels pleasurable, tell them that feels good. Please keep doing that. But don't think in your head, because I'm going to come, or I need to come, or I won't come. Because the minute those thoughts come in, you're not in your body, you're in your head, and you kind of need to be in your body to go into O-Town. And so raise your hand, everyone listening, if you can, in your place where you raise your hand, if you've never experienced that, where you're like, oh wow, yeah, I was in my head and I was in my insecurities or my doubts. I mean, I think most people have been through that. And
I'm wondering, do you know if this person has tried sex toys? Because the hand is great. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily always do the trick. And this person, maybe I don't know if they have a vulva, but if they're a clitoris owner, sometimes the hand, I mean, it's like, it can work, but you could like wear out your forearms. You might need maybe more like power.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about that with sex toys. And also, so for April and I, sex toys became the intro to how to have an orgasm, right? Because our first orgasms were similar to...
I orgasmed from humping a teddy bear.
Oh, yours was just not from penetratives. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, so mine was through a sex toy. And then for a while it was only with sex toys. But then I started to learn a lot more about sex through whatever, my sex education. And now whenever I have new partners, when I'm telling them, they're like, what do you like? How should I touch your pussy? I think of the way I use my sex toy and how it's moving and where it's located on there. And I'm like, focus on that. And then my two other tips for that, for me at least, that actually just are kind of new for me to tell partners when they're like, tell me what you like when I'm going down on you, is number one, if you get my clit hard, and it's going to start with your fingers or a sex toy first, not just your mouth right away. That's me though. Give me a clit boner. First, I need a clit boner for these other things to happen. Number two, if you see my body moving towards you, that means you're doing something good and keep doing it. And if you see my body moving away, then that means that something maybe isn't landing. And that's just when I'm talking about oral sex here. So, but sex toys can be two things. One, like the intro to here's how I have an orgasm. Now I have the experience of it. And then now I can, if you want to, experiment with using fingers, mouths, penises in ways, dildos, in ways that mimic something, but your clit needs to be a part of it because it's the powerhouse of pleasure. And so, yeah, adding that into it is very important.
Go anal, okay?
That's what April would do. That might be a little extreme for this person, but whenever you're ready to do that. Also, though, so sex toys, there's so many. We have a whole category on purepleasureshop.com. It's called Shameless Sex's Favorites, or faves spelled correctly, say favs. And it's April and I, it's our favorite toys. And not just toys that like we use is for penis owners, it's for anal, it's for all the things, but it's toys that we've tried and we believe in. So go there and get a toy. And I don't know, my thought for this person is to get a magic wand. What do you think?
This is what I was thinking, because I think that being 28 years old, if you've had complications with trying to figure out your body, sometimes power is what is needed. And there's like the rechargeable magic wand. I would definitely check that out. And then you can experiment with external and internal, like dual stim vibrators, like it looks like Miss Bi, but it's Miss B by Fun Factory. That's a really good one. And that has like a lot of functionality and a handle. I don't know. There's a lot. Just look at that. Just Shameless Sex Face. And we have a lot of episodes on sex toys. So go to shamelesssex.com and check that out. I think we answered this, and I think we could probably, Amy has more to say.
Well, that's actually purepleasureshop.com, not shamelesssex.com to check that out.
No, for the episodes, if they want episodes on sex toys, there's a shit ton of them.
And then, so for the purepleasureshop.com, if you use coupon code shamelesssex, you get 15% off of everything there, including outside of that category. But OMGS though. Right. So like you're trying so April was talking about like, it starts with you experimenting with your body where you can drop in and not worry about someone else trying to give you or do the thing for you. OMGS.com is amazing, amazing. It's changed our lives. It's changed my clients' lives, our listeners. And it is, here, will you tell us what it is? What do you think it is?
What do they win, folks? So it's 3 different seasons, and it focuses all on vulva owners, and you can see these real live humans that were using. It's research based, and you can see all the different shapes and sizes of vulvas, and they're like tastefully done modules. And we've been sponsored by them since day one, but you liked them. You introduced it to me before we had the podcast.
Well, because it changed my life.
Because they had these really cool like little module like books in different stores that I would see. And I was like, what is this? Anyway, if you go to omgs.com/shameless, you can check out, you can get all 3 seasons. And if you use our code, I think it's just you go to that and you use the code, it's 10%. We haven't done the actual ad in so long because it's just in there. But don't rewind or fast forward, or do rewind and check out OMGS because it's worth it.
And just in terms of what you're asking, season 1 is all about external pleasure. So like hands, fingers on the vulva. And I I know how to orgasm with like 2 different ways. And then by watching that, I saw all these different ways to touch a pussy that I never would have thought of, like swirls and edging and all these different things. And so watch that and then go try different things to see, because you're different from the next person. Season 2 is all internal stimulation. So how to have orgasms, pleasure from internal stimulation. Season 3 is all about how to learn how to use sex toys. And it's not a subscription service. It is a game changer. So
over 1 million people. I just went to their website because it's been a minute, and all of the money that when you pay for the seasons, it's just one and done. It goes to more pleasure research. So, and this is a shameless plug for OMGS because we love them so much, but they said over 1 million people have been experiencing more intimacy and pleasure, and they don't lie.
And I'm one of those people. So yeah, go to omgs.com/shameless and you can get 10% off. And also people who like pleasuring pussies, y'all should go watch this too, because then you'll have more tools in your toolkit to try. But for this person, once you go and discover your body, then when you have partners, then you can share that. Oh, I realized through OMGS, I like swirls on the left-hand side. I had no idea. So no, there's nothing wrong with you. Yes, there's so many things you can try. OMG, yes, there's so many things you can try. And we believe in you. You got this. And we love you. Okay, are you ready for a bio chip?
Okay, so there are 3 people, as Amy mentioned, on this episode, just to let you know a little bit about, we don't have their bio, but it will be in the show notes. But we have Jimanika, Yehuda, and Jacqueline, who are the founders of CINTIMA. And this is about CINTIMA. CINTIMA is an intimacy coordinator training company founded to ensure more marginalized folks have the opportunity to take part in the film, television, and porn industries, and to not only become an intimacy coordinator, but grow as a person too. CINTIMA is the only SAG-AFTRA accredited IC company in the US owned by Black and queer folks. To learn more about CINTIMA, go to cintima.co.
All right, everyone, it's interview time, and you are here for a very exciting orgy. That's right. There's 5 of us all on Zoom screens. It's like I remember the COVID days going to one of Read Me Halko's sex parties when he brought them online, and it was like this like online, 60 people all having like sex on Zoom. Anyways, we're not having sex with each other. We're talking about sex, but we're calling it an orgy right now.
I like it.
Yes, this is our orgy. And we are super excited to learn all about CINTIMA and also about the topic, what is an intimacy coordinator? And this is specifically related to intimacy coordinator training for film and television. But also, everyone, don't worry, it's related to sex. So it's exciting.
But this is also the first time, Miss Amy,
Yes.
let me interject because we're not next to each other. I can't squeeze your leg like I usually do. And I'm like, let me say something. But we have 5 folks total on different screens, which is why it's the orgy. So we have so much like amazing humans that we want to talk to about this really cool new something that I've never heard of. So I know people don't like popping the cherry, but you're popping my cherry with this particular subject, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say that 5 people. So if you're not on YouTube and you're not watching us on YouTube, check it out because there's all these different boxes.
Like I don't know if you can see all the boxes. I think they will pop up at different times, but yeah, that's cool. It's like Brady Bunch over here, but like way more exciting, more evolved. Okay, so our listeners already heard a little bit about y'all and the your CINTIMA, the creation, the offering, and the bio. But we always ask this, or start with the same prompt for anyone that's on our show. I know Jimanika, you've been on our show before. You were in episode like when we were close to 400 episodes. It was like before episode 50. I remember where we were recording. It was like
in the beginning when we were baby, when we were baby bird podcasters.
Yes, and that was more related to trauma, and we'll talk more about that because I know you still have the podcast Trauma Queen. But let's hear more about you all. So can you all tell us a little bit more about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Hi, everybody. I was a theater director in New York City way back when in like 2007, and I was getting all of these plays, these shows with all this very intense, intimate, sexual, very graphic content. And actors were really excited to work on the show. The playwrights were amazing, but it was a moment where everyone was writing like super sexualized work. And so the actors would look at me as the director and be like, how the fuck are we going to do this? We're allowed to swear here, right?
Oh,
it's
fuck yeah.
sex. Yeah. Okay, good. Fuck you. And so I just started developing different processes of how to work, how to just develop consent processes with actors and how to guide them along. Like they're going to have to get naked and rub their bodies up against each other on stage. And so how do we do that safely? And how do they do it 100 times and not want to rip their eyeballs out before they come to the theater? And so I started developing processes around how to do that and how to do it safely and how to manage consent between them and create protocols and all sorts of different ways for them to communicate about what they were doing. And I was shocked that if you had to slap someone on stage, we'd have to like hire a separate person for like one day and pay them more than most of the people got, a fight choreographer, to come in and teach someone how to like just slap someone on stage. But if you're dealing with like, some traumatic, non-consensual, incestual situation, it's just like up to the director and the stage manager and the actors to just figure it out. There was no one doing anything like that I knew of at the time.
Wait, a fight choreographer is a profession?
Yeah, a fight choreographer is someone who comes. I mean, if people are fighting on stage, you don't say just, all right, hit each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you have to learn how to fight. You have to learn how to slap each other on stage so that it looks real, but is not real, and that everyone is safe. And you do rehearsals before each show. It's called a fight call. And so I started thinking like, wow, we kind of need the same thing for sexuality, for intimate scenes. And so I started doing that work and started calling myself a sex choreographer at the time. And I was involved in all sorts of other sexuality spaces at the same time. I was studying erotic blueprints and some other things, orgasm meditation and some other things like that. So I was also a burlesque dancer. I was dancing at the Box at the time in New York.
I love the Box in New York City. Oh yeah, that's a good,
it was a good
place.
time.
Nice.
It was a good time. And so I was just in those spaces anyway, and just felt comfortable. And I just felt like it was, as I did more work, it was really obvious how much shame. I'm so happy to be on the Shameless Sex podcast because it was just so striking to me how much shame is wrapped up in sexuality. And this is not news to us now, but for me in 2007, the year the iPhone came out, I was like, holy shit, there is so much shame just wrapped up in everything that has to do with sex. And so it started this journey for me way back in 2007, and cut to now, and it's an actual profession on sets, and it's no longer called a sex choreographer. It's now called an intimacy coordinator. And we are professional artists, and we work with actors and film productions and teams to ensure that intimate scenes are carried out safely and respectfully and consensually. And we help choreograph intimate scenes. We advocate for performers' rights, and we facilitate open communication between the creative team and the actors and what they want to do. And so we want the actors to be safe, and we want the creative to get like the hottest, sexy, whatever it wants to be, hot, sexy, violent, anything, that is written, we want it to be what the creative team wants. That's what we do.
Amazing. And we want a little bit of an intro from the other two folks on here as well, because we have Jacqueline and as well as Jamenica, who's been on the show before. So can y'all kind of introduce yourselves so people know whose voice belongs to whom? And thank you, Yehuda. That was an incredible intro to what y'all do. It's kind of like The Fall Guy just came out, right? With Ryan Gosling. This is like stunt doubles. And this is like almost like stunt doubling for like intimacy in scenes, which I think is dope. So anyway, that's just my take right now. So whoever wants to go next, please.
Yeah, I was an actor and an actor professional auditioner. And I had an acting teacher do like this sort of psychoanalysis on me, like acting thing. And he was basically like, you should be playing more roles where you're like involved in sexual taboos. And then I sort of like, in meditating on that, found a podcast with an intimacy coordinator, and then did some digging about how I could get training and found these two, and they became my teachers. And fast forward a little bit, and now we're partners.
Business partners. You got to be prepared in this show.
Yes. It's pretty simple, I feel like.
Yeah. And I am Jamenica. I am the third person in this trio. I got into sex ed when I was an elder in 28, when I first met Amy in the woods, studying how to be a sex educator. It was a time. My background is mental health. It is specific to trauma, specifically sexual assault. And that's just been my jam, working in mental health, working as a sex educator. And one day someone reached out and said, hey, there's this opportunity to work with these individuals to create a program. It was Yehuda and another individual. And I was like, I don't know what an intimacy coordinator is. What the fuck is that? And they're like, well, this is what we would like from you. Like bringing in my expertise. I was like, I don't want a new career. I'm good. I got enough shit. But I thought what they were doing was really cool. We did 2 cohorts beforehand, and I really loved my connection with Yehuda. I thought we balanced each other out really well. And we sat down and thought about, did we want to leave this company? Did we want to just walk away from, training folks? And it was like, no, we wanted to do it in a different way. And so Yehuda was like, I think we should ask Jacqueline. And I was like, why do you think that? That's always my question. I was like, why? What is that? Give me more information. And Yehuda was like, she's really passionate. She has all these things. And I was like, cool, let's have a meeting. We had one meeting and it was like, all right, so we're doing this. Like it just felt right. Our personalities match well. As we said before, off the record, Jack and I are both Gemini. So really Yehuda has 4 Black women that he gets to work with on a daily. And it's a time. Within this work though, when creating CINTIMA, we wanted it to be something that you walk away with not only like knowing how to do this job, but you're also like a better human. That was really important to us in creating this. So making sure there's a huge mental health component, that there's sex ed, there's gender, there's trauma, there's so much that you can walk away and just be like, oh shit, I learned so much about myself and I get to go help other people. So that's how I got here with these two. And it has been a journey. It's been a stressful journey, a fun journey. I don't know. We've all cried. It's great.
I mean, that is great. And that's kind of sometimes how things take shape. It's not necessarily that you went and found it. It almost found you all in a way that was serendipitous. And that brings me to this question, because we kind of have a feeling of where this came about and what the inspiration was behind it, CINTIMA. And so the focus, just for folks that are listening and like, wait, what? So intimacy, that we're talking about sex in movies. So can you just elaborate a bit on the fact that this focus for training isn't just for porn, or it's not just for certain, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, some sort of short films that are sex based. This is from my understanding thus far, for anything in the cinematic role or television. So what's like the training that's involved, or am I wrong? Is this just for porn? I don't think I'm wrong, but what give us a little bit more insight about, I guess, the film that's involved and what it takes to get this training. A long-winded version of a question. Jesus, April.
Well, it's also for porn. It is. And we do have some porn performers who have taken our courses and who have taken this training to their porn sets. The difference, obviously, between porn and mainstream media is that porn is people are actually going to be physically having sex. And in mainstream media, they're not. We're faking everything. And so there's a lot of techniques to how we fake everything. And aside from like the on-camera techniques and all of those really fun things that really fun to speak about and to get into, there's a huge administrative component too, of like signing writers and understanding, like everyone agreeing to what's happening. And there's a lot of behind the scenes communication between the creative team in terms of what they want, communicating that with the actors and understanding what the actors' boundaries are. Like, actually, I'm not comfortable with this particular thing, but I am comfortable with this other thing. And so then we can be like a creative liaison between the actors and the creative team and say, hey, listen, this is another way that we can get exactly what you want while holding these actors' boundaries and not crossing them. And so then inside of that, there's like all sorts of garments that we stick to people to cover different body parts and barriers that we put in between them. And so when you're seeing like hot, steamy sex scenes on, HBO, for example, sometimes you are actually seeing people's bodies. Sometimes you're seeing body doubles of those people, like doubles pretending to be those people's bodies. And you do see their bodies up against each other, making out and having sex, and looks really real, but it's all fake. And that's like the art of what we do, really understanding how to make sex scenes and intimacy just come alive. And there's so many different ways to do that. Mm-hmm. Lighting, gesture, touch, clothing, communication. And it all has to do with like just different like a quiver of skills that we have, that like a toolkit that we have of all these different techniques that we can draw on. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to porn, you still need to negotiate boundaries in porn shoots. I think traditionally in all media, boundaries have not really been held very well, because there's someone who wants to sell something and someone else who's getting paid to do something. And inside of that, there's a discrepancy. Person who wants to make and sell something wants it to be a certain way. And the person who's being paid to perform it is like, I don't know if I actually want to do that, but there's a strange power dynamic here. And so I guess I will have to do it. And so having someone like us in between there, like, we can help make sure that everyone is getting what they need. On a porn set, you still have to negotiate boundaries. Like, you're not going to go, anal to vag to anal. So I'm going to pull out all my bad language. We use different language.
Sex. Yeah,
no, I know, but like, we use different language. Like, we try and really desexualize the language that we use on a film set, because we're trying to neutralize everything. And so, like, we want.
What do you use instead? What do you use instead of vag to penis? I'm just curious. Like, or anal? Are you like pumpkin to like hot dog? What do you? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
That's exactly
I'm just
right.
Curious.
We say pumpkin to hot dog.
I was right. No. I was like, no fucking way.
That's actually a conversation that we would have with certain actors. Like, what do you call your parts?
Yeah.
But we would say, we would talk about the type of sex that they're having, like, and I would say like, okay, you're on your hands and knees and you're behind that person. And so we try to like degender, desexualize the language so that all of the sex stuff can happen inside of the actor's performance. And it doesn't have like, like, it helps when there's like 30 people standing around watching people perform sex to desexualize the language. And if the crew and everyone starts to desexualize the language, the actors can feel more comfortable to just go into their space, get into their head zone, and, and go for it. on a porn set, it's going to be different. You're going to say like, I'm not going to go like, from anal back into my vagina. Like, I'm just not going to do that. And the producer might be like, well, but that's what I want. And then if someone is standing in there saying, hey, that's actually not going to happen, there's a third party helping to mediate that conversation. That's really going to keep the actor safe. And it's going to tell a producer, whoever it is, that's wanting to push an actor's boundary, like, no, that's not good. That's not going to happen. But what else can we do? Like, let's cut, let's wash up, and then we can do it as an insert.
Calling all couples who are feeling like your relationship, especially the sexual connection, has lost its spark is just so, or maybe you're feeling stuck or in a rut. Wah, wah, wah. Well, first off, you are completely normal and not alone. This is super common in long-term relationships. Second, there's hope. Maybe you've thought about seeking out support from a coach or therapist, but for whatever reason, aren't feeling ready to take that leap. Never fear, Shameless Sex is here. The book, I mean. While our latest book, Shameless Sex, Choose Your Own Pleasure Path to Unlock the Sex Life You've Been Waiting For, is for everyone, it's specifically geared towards couples who are looking to go from so-so to great in the bedroom and beyond. Written in a playful and fun choose-your-own-adventure style, we give you a simple framework with customized solutions to give you the right tools for the sex and relationships you desire, meaning you just might find your way to sexy pleasure and connection town without the time and cost of hiring a therapist for under $30. Plus, buying the book supports us and shows us you love us, so that's a bonus too. Testimonials are coming in left and right as to how this book helped people just like you create or recreate the sex life of their dreams. And you can too. Grab your hardcover copy or audio version now at shamelesssex.com. Hey, y'all. So, I guested on the Feeling Lighter podcast with Dr. Lisa and Katie, and I wanted to share more about their WeShape offering because I absolutely love what they are doing.
I listened. I wasn't there, but I loved it too. And we get so many emails from people who are wanting to learn to love their bodies, and WeShape is the perfect solution for them. It's all about feeling comfortable in your body while letting go of the societal BS, that's bullshit, about how you should change it.
Heck yes, girl. And we would explain more to you, but instead, we're going to let Katie, one of the founders, do it in a more succinct way. So here you go.
Hi, I'm Katie, the co-founder at WeShape. We are a fitness app taking a radically different approach and paving a new path in the fitness industry. Our primary goal is to focus on people's physical and mental well-being. So we've created a product with workouts that are rooted in quality movement and connection with the body. We have a technology that has real-time customization that can meet you exactly where you are. We also believe that all movement counts, which is why we also offer stretching routines that take as little as 10 minutes. And as a means of addressing our mental well-being, WeShape offers daily community calls with various coaches that create a safe and judgment-free space with the primary goal of acknowledging that everyone has the right to accept and love their body just as it is, and that we don't need to meet societal standards to feel valued. So if you're ready to shift how you feel in your body and about your body, WeShape is here for you. Check us out at WeShape.com/shameless for 35% off today.
This is so fascinating because everything you're saying, it just applies to what I think most of us in the sex ed world. And I assume that April and Jiminica would agree. Just applies to what we teach people about sex in general. Like, let's talk about it. What do you call your parts? What are your boundaries? Here's my hard stop and my hard no. But it sounds like in film and in TV, that's not always considered. And that's why the third party that is a part of it to make that part of the conversation.
That's totally right. I think that it's, in sexuality spaces, especially in the last 10, 15 years, I feel like all of this languaging, all of this new way of communicating has come online, so to speak. And we've started communicating in much deeper, more consensual ways. And we've started to parse our language differently and create new terms for everything and say, well, actually, hey, this particular feeling that I'm having, there was never a name for it. but now I'm calling it something. And so we're starting to name everything, and we're creating this like enormous vocabulary around sexuality. I feel like that is now just coming to the film world. And before it was just like, time is money. Let's get this shot. Let's get this done. That's not hot enough. Take your clothes off. That type of thing. And someone in a power dynamic, like an actor who's like, with 30 crew looking at them and a director and a camera and their career on the line, is not going to really feel so comfortable saying, I actually don't want to do that, because they might not work again. And so calling attention to all of this and saying that, and obviously, like we see just the historical bullshit that has happened, Harvey Weinstein, and it goes back much further than that, to the beginning of Hollywood. All of that behavior, I guess, I don't know, it is like a culture, I guess.
Totally.
It's like it's an American culture. It's a human thing. Anyway, sorry, I went off on a tangent. Dan,
we love tangents.
Anyway, I was just saying, like, there's been, a mountain of historical bullshit in terms of like people's behavior on set without people advocating for other people.
All of this is so fascinating, and I don't know why I wouldn't even think about this. I didn't know. We've talked to like Erica Luss and other people in the porn industry about how they're bringing conversations about consent and boundaries behind the scenes for, the actors. And I just never even really thought about this also moving beyond to, beyond porn. And we'll get more to the intimacy coordinator piece because April and I have so many questions about that. But first, I'm really curious about how watching a show with intimate plots can deepen a couple's relationship. I mean, I have an idea, right? I watch shows and I'm like, oh, wow, this is, my partner, like, like proposes questions and things. But specifically, not just with that question, how does the quality of the content of the intimate scenes, how does this matter? And including what's happening behind the scenes, how does this affect the consumer, specifically talking about like couples?
I can talk about that. I'm not a part of a couple, and I've spoken to couples, not about this specifically, but I do think that media plays the role of sort of igniting or initiating conversation and question and curiosity. And if it's done well, you're feeling something. And if I think it's like pretty standard, it's like a thing that couples do to Netflix and chill or wherever you're like watching your content, that it's a way in to things that one partner might be thinking that might not always be on another person's mind. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just scenarios. It's like, what if that happened to us? And it just opens up a way to talk about something.
Mm-hmm. Did you all watch Succession?
Yes.
Okay, so season 1 of Succession, my friends, this couple, they hadn't had sex in like, I don't know, it was like an 8-month dry spell or something like that. And so season 1 of Succession, Nate and Shiv are sitting in their car, like deciding if they should go back to Nate's hotel room. And Shiv is like, fuck, because Tom is here. And she's like so conflicted. And you just see this conflict on her face. And then she takes Nate's hand and unbuttons her pants and just slides Nate's hand into her pants. And then just kind of, they're sitting in the car. And she just kind of looks up and then cut to another scene. And that scene had so much feeling in it. It was so fucking hot for my friend, this couple friends of mine, that they like turned off the show. They closed the computer and fucked, like right there. Like it just like reignited something for them. And I think we're in a space right now, storytelling wise, where, and just understanding of human sexuality, where like, so much character development, so much nuance can come out of seeing the way that people interact sexually. I mean, if you just even think about like the people that you've hooked up with and like how different they are when they're in there, like when the erotic flower opens, or, like when the erotic bloom or blush is upon them, how different they are than in their everyday life. And like, it's a different persona in a way. So I think that there's so much space for like character development and understanding people in such a deep and different way through the telling of intimate stories, whether they are for mainstream television or for, media like Erica Luss makes. And she does use an intimacy coordinator as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you can see in her credit rolls that she has intimacy coordinators that work that probably just negotiate people's boundaries. Like, what are you into? What are you not into? And so, yeah, I think it's just this really incredible kind of renaissance moment for sexuality. And it's a really kind of beautiful space. So I think that media just has this really important role to play and can really show people things about and really connect people in certain ways. And it can show the dark side of life as well, which I think like that really sells. But I'm personally just into those stories that's like, it's just like, you know, bringing new light into the dynamics between people and how just varied and wild and beautiful sexuality can be.
I think it gives people permission. I think when you watch something, you kind of get that like, oh, I didn't know that was an option. And then, oh, someone else is doing it. So maybe it's not the bad thing. Or maybe that thing I've been thinking about, now I can see it actually happening. And then it's like also like, oh shit, that's not how I thought it would go. And this looks better than what I imagined. So let's try this version. And so I think that is also what a lot of television does is it gives us permission and it makes us ask more questions. It also like opens up communication for folks sometimes. Even the weirdest shit, you're like, what did you think about that? Which can lead to another conversation. And then it also makes people go to their Good Girlfriend Google that's free and start looking shit up, like finding a yes, no, maybe list. Like this could be those starter conversations can allow for expansion inside the bedroom and outside of the bedroom.
I would also add that like pre-intimacy coordinators, like Yehuda used the word renaissance. I think that's a really great word for this. Like there was an element of like staleness or like sameness in sex scenes. And I think intimacy coordinators can come in and like offer some imagination to what people might think is sexy or hot or turn people on. Like there is so much more to good sex and like good stimulation than two people in missionary. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I feel like that's kind of the go-to in cinema or had been.
You're so right, because I realized watching, I don't remember, I've been watching so much damn TV in the last 4 years, more than I ever had. I guess there's way more access and way more streaming platforms, and there's just more content than ever before. But I remember watching sex scenes like from the movies that I grew up on when I wasn't supposed to be watching them, but like Pretty Woman, Fatal Attraction, and they were all kind of like very one sort of one shade of a thing. Like they never were that hot, but they were even like 9.5 weeks, or there was a movie from the 80s that Amy and I watched that was mind blowing back then, was the 80s and 90s. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Now I watch a lot of shows. The series on Netflix that was not Sex Education, not that one, but the one with like the two people, the Australian guy, and they had shown like I think a prosthetic penis, because I think his real penis wasn't. What? Remind me of the show name, please. Someone help me.
I can't remember the name of it, but I watched it.
Killing me right now.
It's sex. Something.
Sex something. Damn it, April. Yes, please Google. I need the help from our sister Google because I can't remember it. I watched all of it. But the point is, it has come a long way. That's my whole point for bringing up this tangent, because it has come a long way. And a lot of the scenes you see now are spicier. They feel like soft porn, but in like a way that's like, oh, wow, this is hot. Like I'm feeling something that I knew before was a total acting on acting scene. Now it feels like this could be realistic. Are those people vibing for real? Like those actors? So this is just a really cool way to hear where this is stemmed from, because before I'm sure there were so many different legalities maybe involved with actors, and they couldn't do what people do, like being naked and acting like you're pumping and humping on film. I don't know.
Or so like what you would have said, if you actually advocated for that, you might lose your job and not be hired.
Which is fucked. That's crazy.
Jimanika said sex
yes.
/life. Yes, I remember that.
Sex / okay, thank you. Thank you. That was a lifeline. I needed that lifeline. Okay, so let me get to a question. That was just an observation, because I love TV and I watch a lot of it, and apparently I like a lot of sex in my television. So we talked about what an intimacy coordinator is, and we will get deeper into this with the next question that Amy's going to ask. But can you just tell us more about what an intimacy coordinator is not?
We are not HR.
Not the sex police.
We're not the sex police. We're not a therapist.
Those are the big three.
Those are the big ones.
We're not the on-set therapist. We're not HR, and we're not the sex police. We're not here to ruin the scene. We're not here to talk people out of doing stuff. We are here to, we'll talk about what we're here for after. But that's, I think, like three of the big misconceptions.
Well, yeah, and with that, let's go with what we're here for after. I want to hear more about that. So, and then with that, so what are you here for then as an intimacy coordinator? No one's like, oh no, the intimacy coordinator's here. Oh shit, we're all going to be in trouble. Right?
Yeah, is it like the camp counselor? They come out with like a shirt that says intimacy coordinator.
I've heard that on set. It's a bummer. Like you come in, they're like, oh, no more jokes. The intimacy coordinator's here. So it's kind of a bummer. I'm actually
I'm fun as fuck.
Yeah, we're really fun, and we want your scene to be fucking hot, or whatever it needs to be. Honestly, I think that there's an element of thinking that we're policing the situation, but really what we're trying to do is we're trying to facilitate a discussion between everyone. We're trying to open up communication, and I think that's kind of foreign to a lot of people, like talking openly, shamelessly about sex and being comfortable with it, just holding that space and being like, make your dirty jokes, as long as the dirty jokes are not at the expense of, a marginalized group or someone who's on set or someone who's in front of the camera who's in a vulnerable position.
Really important, because you think actors are paid for acting, but people have their own trauma, and certain things you watch in TV bring up trauma. I mean, when they're depicted, and if you have, and so I mean, granted, I have thought about it from my own side as a person that is watching these films unfold in front of my eyes. But I can imagine the people that are actually acting these things, if they have trauma based on something that's occurred with them in their lives, that can be heavy. And so a liaison between the actual performance and the actual person is so important, because you can't just have someone saying, you have to do this. You're getting paid. That's your job. That's fucked up, man. So I love that this exists. That's just my take. So I don't know if anyone wants to elaborate on that, but that's just like a aha moment I just had.
Yeah, I think it's so important to address those things and remind people that actors are humans. Like, we're all regular ass people, and it is a job. And that was really important for us. And being able to name that. And that's why we made sure that there are such deep mental health components. And also, you have to be mental health first aid, right? That's also a component. But also the communication portion is so big. We have a communication section. And we have the sex topics and things to, again, normalize that these things do exist. We can't act like you're not someone with trauma, because statistically, all of us have some type of trauma. No one's just walking around here unscathed. So creating a safe space for that person is something that these two do on set all the time. The conversations beforehand, understanding who you're working with is also such a big component to be able to show up to support someone. Mm-hmm. And y'all can speak more to that. But yeah.
Time for a quick break to talk about one of our sponsors, who just so happens to be our absolute favorite lube, Uberlube. Uberlube is a luxurious silicone lubricant, and it enhances intimacy. It's there when you want it, and it blends in when you're done with it, so you have control over that lube. It's long lasting and leaves the skin extra velvety, and honestly, y'all, I want it all over my body. Thousands of doctors in the U.S. are recommending Uberlube to their patients. It's body-friendly, less likely to change the pH, and it has vitamin E, so it feels extra moisturizing.
There's a reason why we've been a fan of Uberlube for years. There's no flavor or scent. It's even great for oral sex, everyone. But it's not just great for sex. You can use it for massage, your hair. You can prevent chafing. It even brings out the colors of your beautiful tattoos. And the bottle is absolutely gorgeous. It looks more like a cosmetic, so you can leave it anywhere shamelessly for easy access. Just go to uberlube.com and use the discount code shameless10 to get 10% off and free shipping. Again, that's uberlube.com right now with code shameless10 for 10% off and free shipping. This podcast is also brought to you by omgs.com. Join over 1 million people who are experiencing more pleasure with OMGS. They take scientific research of thousands of vulva owners, showing techniques to pleasure that pussy. They turn this research into tasteful educational short videos, animated modules, and infographics. OMGS is for anyone who wants to learn about vulva pleasure or take it to the next level. Want to take your orgasms from good to out of this world? Then check out OMGS. Or if you're a vulva lover and want to up your pussy pleasuring skills, then you need to check out OMGS.
I've personally been recommending OMGS to my clients for years, and it's completely changed their lives. They have 3 seasons: external pleasure, internal pleasure, and sex toys. It's not a subscription service, and you don't need to download a thing. OMGS also makes a fabulous gift, and your purchase supports more pleasure research. So just go to omgs.com/shameless to get 10% off right now. Again, that's omgs.com/shameless to receive 10% off unlimited access towards enhancing your pleasure power. The link is in the episode's description. Well, and again, bringing that to just like what we teach in sex ed, like understanding the people you're having sex with, like what is their history, what are their boundaries, and also like, what is their maybe it's like, casual sex. I'm not like, with the first time I'm like, so tell me your trauma history, but maybe I should actually, but are there questions more like, what should I know about you to help you feel safe and to help us have, an experience where we both feel safe and we have permission to be ourselves and we're not harming each other. I mean, yeah, I should probably do that with my casual sex partners. That's think about it. And it applies to everyone. So coming back to the intimacy coordinator piece that we're talking about, how do intimacy coordinators choreograph a scene, and what makes CINTIMA's training different and unique than what else is out there?
I think the thing that sets CINTIMA apart, not knowing what other programs offer, is that we really focus on artistry. Like, we want to bring this sense of like creativity and the nuance that is real in real sex to the moments on camera. And it's a process. Like it's based in movement and that desexualizing body language. You're talking about the pace, the tempo, the level of touch where bodies are meeting. And so I guess technically the way that it happens is like in our studio with Yehuda, it happens with storyboarding first, with these little figurines that we like. They're kind of like Barbie dolls, and you kind of put them together into like imaginative positions, which honestly is like extremely helpful to be able to communicate to some actors who learn better or can like see something better than just like bodies tangling. But yeah, we use those, which are really, I think there's a lot of utility in that. Our training has a choreography workshop. And again, without being able to speak specifically to other training programs, we have this studio with a lot of like camera equipment. And it's, I think, really important for us that our students understand how the camera works and captures moments and like how to manipulate bodies for that medium. And so we bring all of that to our training so that our students aren't like walking onto a set like, oh yeah, I'm doing this for a camera. Again, I can't speak to other trainings, but I do think that ours is very much like we want to make sure that we are sort of like igniting that pilot light in everyone who is an artist or a storyteller or a creative, and like finding that imagination in choreography when you get the opportunity to. It's really a privilege to be able to choreograph a sex scene. Many directors will want to do things themselves. That's not unheard of, and it's completely, I think that's completely respectable if there's a director who is confident in their ability to communicate in that way with actors. But there's some who want to collaborate with us or just want us to take a certain scene over, and we want it to be hot. Like, we want the audience to like walk away from a scene that we've choreographed like really feeling, the intensity of whatever the moment is, or the fun of it. Like, it's not always intense.
Can I ask something, just elaboration on this? So just because I'm curious, and hopefully other listeners out there are curious too. And if not, sorry, I'm being selfish. So do people have to be naked if they look naked when they're being filmed? Do they have to be naked? Do they use prosthetic dicks? Do they use prosthetic vulvas? Or are there like are the stunt double, the intimacy doubles, are they put in for that and that's how it's filmed? I'm just curious.
Wait, is there an intimacy double? Is that a thing?
Yeah, so a lot of this happens with
Oh.
the communication that you're having with both the creative team and your actors, your performers. Like all of those things are determined before there's a lot of rules around prosthetics, and also they take a long time to make. So it's not like anytime you see a penis or anything else, I don't know, like merkins you would use, which are like,
I can clarify some of the rules. You're not allowed to touch a penis in film or television. You're not allowed to touch a genital. And so anytime a genital is handled, for sure, it's a prosthetic. So I don't know if you all remember Euphoria season 1 when fucked up dad Cal is in the hotel room and you see, Jules is in the foreground on the bed while Cal is in the background, kind of blurred out, and he's putting a condom on a penis, and the penis is erect. You're not allowed to show an erect penis on film or on television. You're not allowed to handle a penis on television. So that's out of the gate going to be a prosthetic. Some actors also, if they have to appear nude, they just would rather appear nude with a prosthetic than not with a prosthetic. And then a lot of people have their vulvas shaved, and you're not allowed to show a shaved vulva.
Oh, really?
You can't see lips. So you've never seen, I mean,
I definitely have never seen lips on there, but you can't be shaved even like the front part of so it just has to be, that's where the merkin comes in?
That's where the merkin comes in.
So I have an outie vulva, so I could never be on film because you could see my lips from the outside. This is interesting. Yeah. Now I know.
You might wear a merkin. Like you usually see just like a triangle of pubic hair if someone is nude. And so they either grow out their pubic hair, or if they're shaved, they'll use a merkin. Also, I don't want to like say a blanket rule for everyone, like that, it's going to vary per film, and the film world is a little bit different. That's going to rely on distributors. But if you're talking about like network television, HBO, Netflix, like all, the networks, like it's all streaming services and stuff, each one is going to have slightly different rules about what they will tolerate in terms of exposure for bodies. Typically, you don't show a shaved vulva. You might show a landing strip in a particular scene, but a vulva is not going to be shaved. So you would use a merkin. They would build a pubic wig.
I still kind of thought merkin was like a modern day joke. Or like back in the day when people had pubic lice and you had to shave it, and that's still a thing, right? You have pubic lice, you shave your bush off. But I didn't know that merkins were like still so commonly used especially in the film world. That's awesome.
Yeah, they're used a bunch. If you all watched Winning Time in the first season, there's the scene where Jerry Buss is in the cantina with I forgot the woman's name, the character's name, but he like kind of reaches the camera's under the table and he reaches his hand into her underwear and moves her underwear aside and starts like massaging her vulva. Total prosthetic vulva. Like you're not going to touch an actor's not going to touch another person's genitals ever. So we use barriers in between people. Like your genitals will not be touched in this type of network or film, like film distribution, because that, for our, under FCC rules or whatever those rules are, I'm probably not saying that right, that would be considered pornography. And so porn work would be different, have a different set of considerations and a different set of rules. If I can just go back real quick, I think another thing that we really stress in our training is sexual education. Like we really want people to have a really wide understanding of like the different ways that people show up sexually, the different relationship styles, different types of like kink, fetish, BDSM, difference between all of those things, and just, the wide spectrum of like gender and just the way that sexuality is represented and how what we spoke about before, there's just like a kind of like maybe 2 or 3 archetypes that you see or that you have traditionally seen typically. There's the sexual, which is the pretty woman that you brought up. It's like sex, and maybe it's tender sex or maybe it's like hot sex. And then there's like Fatal Attraction, which is kind of illicit. And Fatal Attraction had that amazing scene with Glenn Close on the
stove,
kitchen counter.
Oh my God, the stove. It was on the stove, man. That was one of my spank bank moments for my whole life.
Yeah. It's as a kid, like that was, and I saw that in the movie theater. That's, dating myself, aging myself a little bit. But yeah, that was, very intense and intense scene, but still like very sexual blueprint. Or if someone is like kind of like weird and off, then they're kinky, then they're like, then there's leather and they're wearing a collar and there's a whip and like a St. Andrew's cross or something like that. And that's like the bad people are that, like, or the off people. And I'm talking traditionally, I'm not talking now. I think that there's a lot more nuance now. And so I think that, something that we teach is like, I don't know if you all know like Miss Jaya and the erotic blueprints.
Oh,
like
yeah. She's been on our show. What I know the episode
Jaya's
number because I tell people about it all the time. Episode 126, y'all. It's amazing.
Yeah. I studied with Jaya and I use the blueprints in choreography. I think they're amazing. And you don't see all of the blueprints. You see a sexual blueprint, you see a kinky blueprint in film and television. And so like, have you ever seen like I try and bring like the energetic to like, the sensual. You see sensual a little bit, but like really try and bring energetic or a shapeshifter, more shapeshifter vibe to things. And so these are things that we teach. And we also teach like, when we're choreographing, so much depends on the frame and what you can see in the frame. And so what's the frame? What does the director want to see? How is this being shot? What does the director, what does the DP want? Like you see the frame in the lineup, and then you can start to understand how to position the actors' bodies and how to dial in like those little nuanced details that really can sell a scene and make it really come to life. Those are the things that we teach.
This is so cool. And this is it's sort of important, an important intro to this next question that I have. I think that you're going to hopefully expand on this question, because what does it take to be an intimacy coordinator? It sounds like there's a lot of skill obviously involved, but how can it help not only improve the everyday life of the consumer, but how can it make you a better human if you wanted to be an intimacy coordinator? And can anyone do it if I wanted to do it? Or what does it take? You can focus on whatever pieces of those, because that's a multi-layered question.
We like to ask 5 questions in one.
You could definitely do it, April. So could you, Amy.
Yeah. Thank you.
In our training specifically, I feel like the understanding of intimacy, the understanding of that everyone is coming to this work, everyone comes to an intimate scene with a lot of like the baggage of being human in culture. Like there's a lot of baggage there. And as Jimanika said earlier, there's, everyone is carrying a form of trauma in some way. Whether it's inherited, whether it's, actualized in their life from childhood or from adulthood or from whenever. And you just don't understand what people have been through and what can be their triggers. And so it takes a certain level of sensitivity to be an intimacy coordinator, a comfort with sexuality, an understanding of sexuality, an understanding of the spectrum of sexuality, spectrum of gender, spectrum of relationship styles. It takes a certain being able to read a room, read people, listen, like with your body, kind of to listen to people. And it takes a sort of sensitivity, a creativity and a sensitivity, understanding what a director wants, what a creative team wants, understanding what an actor's boundaries are. How can you bring those two things together? Because they might be really different. A director might want like, holy shit. And the actor's like, what the fuck? Really? Hopefully they've had conversations in casting before they've gotten to that moment. And usually they do, typically they do, but sometimes they don't. And there's a discrepancy, particularly like with background actors or day players who just like, are like, I want the job. And then they're like, wait, these are the sides. This is what I have to do. And so it takes a lot of creativity. I think it takes the ability to advocate and to really stand up and to navigate power dynamics that can be really uncomfortable. Like a film set is a harsh environment. It's an intense place with intense personalities. And there's, I always feel like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I'm never going to work again. Like I feel that way on every project that I've been on. Never going to work again. I don't really believe that, but I'm like, there's something comes up, not on every project, but it certainly has in the past. And so I think it takes like a grit, but it also takes like an intense sensitivity. Mm-hmm. And both of those things kind of together. And then I think Jim can then Jacqueline can speak to some other
I
things.
think it also takes humility, right? Like there's also a lot of unlearning of your own shit. And in our course, I will remind folks like you got to leave your shit at the door. And you're going to learn like, oh, I thought I knew this thing and I don't. Or, oh, I had this impression and now I have to unlearn things. Something I will always say this, something that this like, it's hard. Like it's a new thing for a lot of people in different ways. And it's going to challenge you.
Mm-hmm.
Like even in ways that you're like, I didn't know I struggled here. Great. It's not a bad thing to learn these things. That's just where you get to expand. I will say one thing, like this is not for people that are coming to save other people. Like this is not like I want to be a savior because like it's not, right? Like because you're not centering what the work actually is. And like Yehuda said, it's a lot of goddamn paperwork. You get in there, you're like, I've come to do that. And they're like, that's so great. Let's talk this contract. Let's talk about the filing. Let's talk about the paperwork. And there's so much more that people, I think, don't understand about this job. And that's really pushed forward in our first module. So you understand what you're getting into. And I'll let Jack really speak to like how we have set up this program to be able to let you keep going. Oh, is this for me? Is this for me? Is this for me?
Yeah, I would say the humility thing is a big one. And it's not for people with egos. Like the thing that I spoke to before with choreography, like this is really not your project. I think there is this sense that like anyone can do this job because a lot of it is rooted in soft skills. But in terms of what can make someone like why it's good at just like human nature, at being better at human nature, is that so many of us think that we are better than we actually are at soft skills.
That's right.
Yeah, we think that we are better listeners than we are. We think that that everyone needs our advice, that we know everything already. And so there are a lot of people who come to us and they're like, I have XYZ things on my resume. Like I have all of these credentials and I think that I'm ready to be an intimacy coordinator, or I have all of these things. Do I need to do your whole training? Or I have been in the film industry for all of this time and I have all of this experience. We love experience. The three of us have a cumulative amount of lots of experience, but we still are constantly learning and reading and practicing and trying and, you know, like testing. There's always learning to be done. And so I think, especially in this industry of egos, that like if you're stepping into a creative space, that like you are not the person in charge as an intimacy coordinator. And so making sure that you check your ego at the door, that you know that this isn't your project, that you know that you are not the performer, that you're not the director, that you're not the producer, that you are here to facilitate the consent and boundaries, the artistry, the admin, the legalities of all of these things. Like you're kind of just a background operating system, and it's a great place to be for some people. And if you know that that's where you want to be and you can cover all of those bases, then yes, you can be an intimacy coordinator. It's kind of like this idea of being ready for something when the opportunity happens. Like with the choreography piece, I think people get really excited because we all grew up watching movies. And I think that's part of like what drew me to this, is that I grew up not being like with my mom covering my eyes for the bad parts,
air quotes bad if you're not watching YouTube, everyone.
Right, air quotes bad parts. And so that already like is conditioning people to that like sex is shameful or can't be seen or shouldn't be talked about. And that I think is part of the reason that I got so excited to talk about it as a profession. And so I think that we all have that somewhere in our history, that like we've seen something on TV that is sexual and we've been touched in some way, affected, impacted in some way by some sex scene or relational scene that we saw on TV. And so there is a sense of like feeling like you already know what to do, but you don't. And and so our training is really set up as like a building block. And that's why we don't want people, a system of building blocks. And that's why we don't want people like skipping around. We also, like I said, don't know what other people teach. So if you are coming from other training organizations that have taught you certain things, we don't know what those certain things are. And we do value every lesson that we have. We've put a lot of time and tears and love into every one of these lessons. And so have all of our guest instructors. And so we have put all of those things in there, and we want people to be intimate with our program.
This is all just so absolutely fascinating. I don't know about you, April, but whenever I look at anything on TV or film or whatever, I'm gonna be analyzing the shit out of it. I'm like, I know there's an intimacy coordinator there, and I love this kind of behind the scenes sneak peek into what is happening in it. But I also love what is happening, what y'all are doing, and that it's going in this direction. And yeah,
I
so
think maybe Jamenica might have had something to add. Did you have something to add? Because I heard you like oohing, and I wanted to make sure, just in case, because I know Jacqueline finished, but did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I did. Okay. I just wanted to also say something that sets us apart is we are a predominantly online program. And we created it that way so that individuals that are transitioning can like do it at their own time. I am someone that got her master's degrees with the S, thank you, online because I still had a career, because lights still need to be on and I still need to eat. And there are a lot of folks that are transitioning into this work. And we wanted to create a space that also like wasn't like unsupportive of the ways that people needed to learn. There's visuals, it's audio, it's interactive, there's homework, but you can also be like, oh, I can do this when it feels good for me. So that way you can actually absorb the information. There's a lot of fucking information. And if you're like racing through it, and we'll also see you, we will slow you down, don't play, because we want you to truly understand this information, because it's also our names, right? Like when you walk away from CINTIMA, you're walking away with Jimanika, Yehuda, and Jacqueline's name on your back. And so we want you to walk away feeling like you were supported and you got to like absorb the information at your own speed. So I just wanted to note that as well.
I also want to add that we feel like this work, when you come to it, is actually life-changing, and it does increase your sensitivity to people. We teach tolerance, we teach diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. We teach, queer history and cinema. We teach, so many needed life skills of understanding other people and understanding sexuality. And so we also feel like we just want everyone to be able to have access to this information. Not everyone who takes our course is going to be an intimacy coordinator. Some people who take our course are going to be the head of a studio someday. I just know that that's true. So people's paths are different, but when you study this work, it just deepens your life. It deepens your relationships. And we've heard this firsthand. Like our students are like, holy shit, you don't understand. Like I'm looking at people differently. Like my languaging, like I'm more comfortable around my trans friends. Like I'm there's so many life skills that are taught here, and it's really important to us that anyone can have access to that information.
Yeah, and online makes that so easy for people to have access. And I'm hearing the pieces like going at your own pace, but I'm hearing Jimanica also like, we're going to question you and not just be like, like oh yeah, here it is. You took the course. You're all good. Like we want to make sure that it really lands. There's so many online courses where people like, oh yeah, I learned it. I just sat there and learned stuff. And there isn't this like, not like accountability. Well, yeah, accountability actually for, how are you absorbing this and how is this affecting you and changing, and what are your new ideas and perspectives on that? So I love everything that you're talking about and everything that y'all are doing. And I am just, I'm just in awe of it. And I'm super curious how people can find you, work with you, but how can they take the training? How can they sign up? And it sounds like anyone can. I already have a list of a lot of people I know who would benefit from this. Maybe I should take it, even though I'm not in the film world, but April and I are on camera. And then I also I know here's classic Shameless Sex Star. We're going to give you a million questions, but it's just tell us more about how people can find you in the training. And also for Jimanica, your podcast Trauma Queen too, which we really appreciate. Can you share more about that and how people can find that work as well?
So CINTIMA is on Trauma Queen. We wanted to also make sure that we took the time to like really introduce ourselves to the world. And I had a platform and I said, come on, let's do it. Trauma Queen started out as a podcast that was specific for sexual assault survivors and those that are connected to them. I took a break because trauma is a lot. And I came back this year with Trauma Queen, the trauma within, because as we spoke about in the beginning of this, there is no way that any of us haven't experienced trauma. And so the topics are so expansive. And I'm also only talking to my friends and like people that are important to me because I get to learn new things about them. And like the trauma within fill in the blank, the trauma within church. Ooh, those are fun. I got a few religious ones. The trauma within purity culture. That's good. Like the trauma within, you know, being a Black woman in the world, like the trauma within film and media. Like there's something in everything. And I think that right now I'm kind of on a kick in wrestling because I work in professional wrestling now, as one of my other jobs.
What?
But there's so much trauma that happens within there also. So I've been doing like 3 weeks of like talking to women in that space that have experienced all kinds of things. So it's
Wait,
just
hold
like,
on. Is it the
yeah.
wrestling, like the wrestling where it's like the real hardcore,
Yeah.
like
She
not
wants
like
a visual.
yeah, or
Yeah.
or like the not like UFC.
That's
then
not
that's more
wrestling.
fighting.
That's
But
not
like,
wrestling.
is it like the? I like the WWE/WWF vibes, like that I used like know about when I was a
Like
kid.
Hulk Hogan?
like
Is that
that?
what you're saying?
We're not
April?
talking
No.
about that man with me.
No.
No, yeah, not him, not
we're
him.
not doing that at all.
Uh,
I work for AEW, which is the second biggest company in this country.
Okay.
All Elite Wrestling. I am 1/3 of the mental health department.
Awesome.
So yeah, it is the ones that are jumping off things, living their
I have
best
a deep
lives.
respect for this. That's why I ask. I think about like
Yeah.
Nacho Libre, like the old school where it came, right? Like the
Yeah. I love
Mexico
luchador wrestling.
Yeah, me too. And that's why I was wondering. I grew up
Yeah.
on watching wrestling because I grew up in the Midwest, and that was a
Yep.
thing over
It's big
there.
there.
And it's an art. So thank you for elaborating on that. That's dope. So wait, are you actually wrestling, or are you working behind the
no.
scenes?
No.
Okay.
No, not
I
with
was like
these
hoping
knees.
it was all
Not with these knees, boo. No, I do this. I talk, but I'm in the back. Like I have travel coming up. Like I am in the backstage when people are walking by, when there's breakdowns. I'm available on the intranets, on the phone, a text message, a DM. However they can reach me, they find me. Sometimes people will like, I'm never getting on the phone with you, but I'll talk to you through DMs. And I'm adaptable. I've been in bathrooms, hallways, in the rain. Wherever you need me, I'm there. And yeah, I get to work with some of the most amazing, creative people that use their bodies. That's also storytelling. And so it's kind of like it goes hand in hand in a way that it's still, you know, choreographing, watching them choreograph their shit. But my job is to make sure that their brains are able to focus on doing a 360 splash off the top so that they can focus to get their body to do the right thing. And they're not thinking about, oh shit, we just got into a fight. Like me and my wife are fighting. I'm like, let's have that conversation after.
Yeah. This is amazing.
CINTIMA stands for Cinematic Intimacy Artists. You can find us at our website, cintima.co. You can find us on Instagram, cintima.co. We're also on LinkedIn and Facebook under the same names. For your listeners, we have a 10% off discount code for Module 1 Foundations. It is Shameless 10. And for everyone who is unfamiliar, Modules 1, 2, and 3 are all self-paced, all online. Module 1 is the foundations. Module 2 is soft skills. Module 3 is practical skills. And then you will be moving on to Module 4, which is an in-person choreography workshop.
Experiential. And so just for everyone to reiterate what Jacqueline said is that it's self-paced. So if you do have another job or you have kids or you want to just dip your toe in this world, maybe to experience some of what you're seeing in the streaming shows that you're watching that you're obsessed with too. I think it just would be a really cool, I think it'd be cool just to learn. Like I love learning. So just like learning more and improving on your skill set, because it sounds like this could be something for not everyone, but for those that really feel like they vibe with this conversation. I vibe with it. I love it. And if I had like more hours in the day, I would love to do it. Yehuda, anything else you wanted to add before we close out?
April, I want to add to that, to what you just said, which is that when people hear about this, for some people, not everyone in the world wants to be an intimacy coordinator, but there's some people that hear about this and just a light bulb goes off in their head, in their heart, in their whole body. And they're like, holy shit, this is that thing that I am and that I want to be. And so if you do feel that calling, we would love for you to come and check out what we do. And again, we've got that intro 10% off for our first module. So just come and check it out. It's a really easy, it's a low barrier to entry. You can really start to get a very comprehensive taste of what it's like to be this position on a film set. You're a department head, and you're handling the intimacy, and you're handling the intimate scenes. And it's a very beautiful line of work, and it's a beautiful practice.
I'm so stoked that y'all have this offering. I guess I'm really glad that the film industry was able to have this much consent when it comes to these scenes, first of all. But I'm even more stoked that there are these evolved humans that think about the actual nature of people's trauma. They think about the nature of the art and the beauty of the scene. They think about all of these pieces. So it's kind of art unfolding, which is really cool to me because I have a deep respect for art. And I really appreciate y'all taking the time to share this. And I hope some of our listeners out there take advantage of this very generous offer that CINTIMA is sharing with y'all and Shameless Sex listener villes, wherever you are throughout the world. I should ask that last question. Sorry. Is it only United States? Is it anywhere in the world?
So our students are everywhere. There are students all over the world. A lot of people ask this question, like, can they be an intimacy coordinator or take our training if they are not in the US? CINTIMA is SAG-AFTRA accredited, which I'm actually surprised it's taken us that long to say that. But SAG-AFTRA is the accrediting
That's in the bio,
body.
So don't worry, Jacqueline.
Okay,
Everyone knows
great.
already.
So they are the accrediting body. There are many SAG-AFTRA productions that take place all over the world, but that's kind of like the standard. There isn't a standard in other places. There are other countries that have their own trainings, other unions that they base those standards on. And so the answer is yes, you can take it everywhere. And we don't know of any production that hasn't recognized a SAG-AFTRA accredited training program as like being bona fide.
Bona fide, yes. And I think that even if you are in Australia or the UK, some of our other bigger countries with our listenerships, why not advance your knowledge even further? Bring more knowledge is never a bad thing, right? To put it simplistically, knowledge is power. And so you could bring these sort of techniques or this like these people that have a ton of different, each of you come with really a deep variation of skill set that is all really important. So it's like this trifecta, which is really cool. So it was all meant to be. Okay. That was my last piece. And we've kind of run over, but there was the cup runneth over with information. So it was needed. And we appreciate y'all. Thank you. I know y'all busy. So for you out there, I know you're busy too. And no matter where you're listening from, if you just give us a shout out on that platform, that means a review. You could do just a couple of words. It just helps more folks find these awesome platforms out there and stay informed, like CINTIMA. And there's so many variations of Shameless Sex episodes now, but we are giving you all the power to change your lives, whether it's in the bedroom or in your regular career, right? So thank you for listening. That's all I have. I think that's all Amy has. We will see you next Tuesday. All right, y'all. Ciao for now.
Want to learn more? Go to shamelesssex.com, and for 15% off of some of our favorite sex toys, use coupon code shamelesssex at purepleasureshop.com.